how's it going? Today I have another exciting thriller. Grab a bite. Sit back and enjoy. A new law is passed to allow people to sell their bodies. Years later, Paris becomes an urban wasteland with over 15 million people unemployed and homeless. Due to the government going bankrupt, large companies manage to take over the state. Few still hope for change and go to the streets to protest the government's inhumane treatment. However, most have lost hope and just focus on surviving. Rita, whose pseudonym as a fighter is Ares, no longer cares as he's more focused on surviving. His brutal match is televised throughout the city, providing a distraction to the people. Athletes like him are encouraged to dope up to make their matches more intense and profitable. 10 years ago, Rita was among the best until he suffered a stroke after using a new formula. Now he believes that he's worth nothing. After his match, Rita meets with a corporate agent named Altman, who offers him a gig. Along with other athletes, Rita joins a riot team to handle protesters. During this, Rita notices Altman pocketing an envelope from a corporate man. Rita's attention gets diverted when some protesters get arrested, including his niece, Anouk. Meanwhile, the news reports about the protest outside the Dunvaya building, noting that the activists are demanding the corporation's human trials be eliminated. After the job, Rita walks Anouk home. As they enter the activists' hideout, Rita spots one man carrying a gun, which has been deemed illegal. Inside, they greet Rita's sister and Anouk's mother, Carla. Since the mother and daughter are activists, Anouk dislikes Rita for taking jobs in the corporate police force. After Anouk leaves, Carla shows Rita a Dunvaya press conference where the CEO claimed that the 2,000 who died from their experiments were all accidental. He insists that the participants were aware of the risk, and their families were compensated for their loss. Rita believes that the people weren't forced to do anything, but the activists' new leader, Boris, argues that the corporation doesn't share the full risk of the experiments. The activists insist on fighting for truth and justice, but Rita believes that those won't feed them, so he prefers money. Later, Rita visits Altman and gets intimate with her. After their activities, he thanks her for helping Anouk out of jail. The following day, Dunvaya corporate executive, Anna, reports to the CEO that their new formula led to over 10,000 deaths. Their board becomes nervous about this and wants to stop the tests. To give them better results, Anna suggests having a specific athlete for the final testing and showcasing the results in a special event. When Rita meets with his coach that evening, he finds Anna in his office. His coach offers him a new formula to help him win his next match. Rita turns to Anna, knowing that she's behind this, but his coach assures him that the formula will propel him back to the top. When Rita asks why they chose him, his coach admits that it's because he's a loser, so it's more profitable to make him a champion. Offended, Rita challenges his coach to try it out first. Anna, however, notes that the product doesn't work for everyone, but it was already tested on his blood, and it worked. Still, Rita refuses to risk his life. That evening, Rita walks home but stops by a store. The seller, Zito, reminds Rita that he'll sell the kiosk to him, but he shouldn't drop by to check on him so often. Rita then goes home and watches an advertisement for a cage match against professional fighters for homeless people to win money. This makes Rita ponder over their ruined society. The following morning, Rita learns that Carla was arrested for gun possession. The police know that Carla works for the activists, but Rita tries to defend her as a mother who needs a job. Rita suggests that someone planted the gun, but the agent thinks it's more likely that her home was a terrorist hideout. He tries to claim that the gun was his, but the agent disproves this when Rita can't describe what type of gun it was. With Anouk and her little sister, May, in police custody, Rita has to take them in. He asks to see his sister, but since Carla is deemed a terrorist, the agent can't promise to allow her visitations. As they're leaving, Rita calls Altman for help. She promises to try to help Carla but advises him to keep a low profile in the meantime to improve their chances of freeing her. Before they can exit, Boris approaches them and introduces a lawyer to help free Carla. However, Rita takes Boris to the bathroom and threatens him from doing anything, convinced that keeping their head low is safer. Soon, Rita is allowed to visit Carla, who claims that someone broke into her house the day before but didn't take anything. Instead, they only left the gun. Rita promises to free her and advises her to keep out of trouble until then. At home, Rita makes dinner for his nieces while Anouk is on the phone, complaining about his lack of action to free their mother. Seeing that she's talking to Boris, he takes her phone, telling her that the man is not good. Angered, Anouk yells at him, insisting that the corporation will just accuse anyone as a terrorist. She argues that they're in the middle of a revolution, and when he doesn't listen, Anouk spills the food he prepared, so Rita slaps her. With that, Anouk calls him the perfect cop since he's obedient and violent before storming off. Before chasing after her, Rita asks his neighbor, Maya Sotis, to watch over May. He later finds Anouk caught by a gang, so he fights them off. Pissed, Rita accuses Anouk of wanting her mother to die. He asserts that the prisons are dangerous, and a revolution will just prolong Carla's stay there. Rita knows that it's faster to get his sister out if he pays up because that's how the system works. As they're heading home, Altman invites Rita over, so he leaves Anouk to Maya Sotis as well. Rita offers his neighbor money for watching over the girls, but Maya Sotis slams the door on him. At Altman's home, she reveals that the police received an anonymous tip to get Carla arrested. Since the government is strict regarding weapons, the only way to free her is to pay 100,000 euros within the week before her case reaches a prosecutor. With no other choice, Rita gets the formula tested on his blood sample, which shows that it assimilates with his blood. In contrast, it reacts differently to the blood sample of his trainer, Tyro. His coach notes that the formula is brutal but short-lived, so he must win his matches within 5 minutes since he'd lose consciousness. Despite this, the coach assures him that it's not a certain risk. His coach plans to enter him into the European Championships, but he only needs to pass the first 3 matches where they'll bet on him and multiply their earnings. This would earn Rita 120,000 euros in 3 matches. Afterward, Rita picks up the girls from Maya Sotis' house. There, May points out that Maya Sotis has cameras everywhere so he can stream his life online. Maya Sotis claims that he's a transformative artist, but people also want to see his life, especially when he's getting intimate. The following day, the European Arena Championship is announced, and Rita will be up against Panther. This makes the coach panic, believing that Panther is unbeatable with 50 wins and 13 kills. Still, Anna assures him that Rita will be fine. At home, Rita shows the girls the money he saved to buy the kiosk for his retirement. He's now planning to use it to bet on himself, but since he can't do that, he asks Maya Sotis to be his middleman. When Rita walks off after giving him the money, Maya Sotis sarcastically asks Anouk if it'd kill her uncle to say thank you. On the day of the match, Tyro injects the new formula on Rita, reminding him to finish the match in 5 minutes. The two fighters are then locked in the arena. Rita's eyes dilate and glow yellow as the formula takes effect, and Tyro starts his timer. The fight begins, and Rita dodges Panzer's attacks before breaking his nose. Rita continues throwing punches, much to the audience's surprise. Eventually, Panther blocks his punches and kicks him off, but Rita quickly recovers and elbows him in the face. Still, Panther remains standing and starts beating him up. The bell rings, and the fighters recuperate in their corners. Rita learns that he has less than a minute to finish the battle, so he proceeds with the fight more aggressively. With only 15 seconds remaining, Rita blocks Panther's punches and successfully breaks his knee and arm. Seeing him unable to get up, Panther's trainer throws in the towel, thus earning Rita's first victory. As Tyro celebrates their victory, Rita suddenly vomits blood and passes out. The Dunvaya CEO shows this result to his board as proof that the HSX formula is successful. He promises that this will benefit their military and sports departments and thus earn them billions. He even teases the HSX's potential to improve the productivity of the working class. Soon, Rita wakes up in the clinic, where his coach encourages him to fight for the championship title. However, Rita wants to quit. To convince him otherwise, the vice president of Dunvaya offers to pay him in exchange for helping them get the HSX formula launched for public use. As a token of goodwill, they even give him an advance. Soon, Rita arrives at Maya Sotis' home and learns that he won 180,000 euros on the bet. Even though it's enough to free Carla, Rita decides to continue the competition since Dunvaya offered him 5 million euros to win the next round. Anouk argues that he'd just be allowing Dunvaya to conduct more experiments, but Rita points out that he didn't make the rules, nor can he change them. However, if they become rich, they'll be protected. Upon Rita's victory, HSX gets advertised to the public, promising that ITLL make them invincible. Rita also becomes a star, and Donivia's stocks go up. Soon, Rita takes his nieces to his new apartment, but this doesn't please May as she misses Maya Sotis. Finally, Rita and Altman go to the prison to free Carla, only to learn that she died after defending new prisoners. Grieving, Rita tells Altman to find out who framed his sister. One evening, Rita learns that he'll be fighting a sumo wrestler named Lamas in the next match. To his surprise, the TV changes to a call from Boris, who mocks him for working for Dunvaya. He asks Rita to get the profiles of people killed during the Dunvaya experiments, but Rita asserts that the company isn't his enemy, whoever framed Carla is. With this, Boris shows him Carla's case file, which shows the address of the payphone used to call the anonymous tip. Rita goes to the payphone and sees that it's near Zito's store. Suspicious, Rita asks him if anyone has become compatible with the HSX, and Zito assures him that he's the only one. Suddenly, Rita thanks him for his sister, making Zito pause worriedly. However, he adds that he's thanking him for the flowers he sent for Carla. Rita then takes the girls to Myosotis so he can visit Altman. While getting intimate, he asks her to look after his nieces if something happens to him tomorrow. The next day, the second match starts, and the commentator notes that Lamas's previous match was won in only 43 seconds after he crushed his opponent against the cage. The two enter the arena, and just before the fight starts, Tyro notices that Rita isn't accompanied by his new trainer. Immediately, Lamas rushes to Rita and strangles him against the cage, knocking him out in only 17 seconds. The commentators ridicule Rita and HSX, calling the promised invincibility a lie. This causes Donivia's stocks to go down by 87%. The board members demand to know what happened, so the CEO tasks Anna to take Rita in. After being woken up, Rita meets with Myosotis in the parking lot. During the drive, Myosotis confirms that the girls are ready, and they earned 600,000 euros after betting on Lamas. Rita instructs Myosotis to get the money and meet him at his house. However, if he doesn't return, Myosotis must take the girls and the money. He also gives him Altman's number, insisting that she can help. Myosotis shares that Anouk gave him Boris' number, but Rita still doesn't trust him. Meanwhile, at Myosotis' house, the girls hear a knock at the door. Rita later visits his coach, revealing that he threw his match to ruin Dunvaya on purpose. He also reveals that he didn't take the HSX before the match as he saved it for him. His coach becomes frightened, telling his guard not to let Rita inject the formula. However, Rita reminds the guard of what he did to Panther, so the guard leaves, unwilling to risk his life. Left to defend himself, the coach reminds Rita that he was the only one compatible with the product. He insists that he made the deal with Dunvaya so Rita can have his glory days back, but the man isn't convinced. Instead, he injects the HSX on his coach, which quickly makes him bleed out. Suddenly, Anna arrives with a guard, already aware that he threw the game on purpose and hid his nieces at his neighbor's house. Realizing that the girls are in trouble, Rita fights her guard, who easily defeats him. Anna assures him that the girls are still in Myosotis' house. She lets him call them, but Altman answers the call. Aiming a gun at the girls, she tells Rita to do as he's told. Anna reveals that Altman was the one who gave him to Dunvaya and planned Carla's arrest to force him into taking the HSX. She adds that Altman does like him, but she prefers money. As Altman watches over the girls, Myosotis calls his house. After learning that Myosotis has 600,000 euros, Altman instructs Anouk to ask him to come home. With a gun to her head, Anouk answers the call, and Myosotis asks her what they want for dinner. Anouk lies that Rita is already there and plans to take them to dinner, including Myosotis, as a thank you. This surprises Myosotis, but after the call, he realizes something is wrong as Rita never thanks him. As he's being escorted to the Dunvaya office, Rita asks what they want him for, so Anna reveals that they'll use him to stabilize the HSX formula. At the same time, Myosotis logs into the livestream in his apartment and sees the girls being held at gunpoint. He calls Rita, but Anna confiscates his phone, so he calls the number Rita gave him, only to see Altman answering the call from the livestream. With no choice, Myosotis calls Boris. At the Dunvaya office, Rita confesses to the board members that he didn't take the HSX at the previous match. With that, the CEO assures the board that they will have a commercially ready HSX in 2 months with Rita's help. To demonstrate the formula's effect, Anna injects Rita with HSX. Meanwhile, Myosotis rings the doorbell to his apartment while Boris aims his gun at the peephole. Suspicious, Altman orders May to check the door instead. Fortunately, when she does, May only sees Myosotis outside. When Altman checks, however, Boris shoots her as they have been watching the apartment through the livestream. Soon, the HSX takes effect on Rita. However, their screen suddenly shows Boris with May, who assures Rita that Anouk and Myosotis are waiting for him downstairs. With the company having no more leverage against him, Rita throws the CEO out the window. The guards hold him at gunpoint, but Anna orders them to stand down as they need Rita alive. The board members then head out, leaving Rita to fight the guards. Against 2 genetically modified guards, Rita throws punches but struggles to defeat them. When one puts him in a chokehold, Anna reminds him to keep Rita alive, forcing him to release the man. She notes that Rita has only 3 minutes left before the HSX knocks him out, so he fights more aggressively, even biting off another guard's finger. He manages to kill both guards, then confronts Anna, but he only has 2 minutes of consciousness left. Instead, he takes a guard's gun and uses his remaining time to send Boris the Dunvaya files to repay him for saving his nieces. He then calls Anouk, who's outside the building. Rita shares that his existence is worth billions to Dunvaya, so they won't leave them alone as long as he's alive. Knowing what he means, Anouk tears up. Rita then tells her to thank Myosotis before ending the call. As he reaches the end, Rita approaches Anna, who insists they can still work things out. However, Rita has made his choice and shoots himself in the head. Hearing the gunshot, Maya Sotis hugs a weeping Anouk, and Anna merely stares at the dead body that symbolized her greatest project. Soon, Boris releases the done via files to the public, revealing over 30,000 people were killed for their product testing. The company has taken advantage of people being allowed to sell themselves, thus buying off their lives and freedom for the sake of profit. With this, the revolution begins, and Rita becomes their symbol. Hope you enjoyed it. Consider subscribing, it is free. Cancel anytime.